Today we are going to explore the question of creativity. What is creativity? Because I feel this question comes to all of us at some point of our life. Let us look at the accepted meaning of creativity. Usually we consider creativity when we are able to paint something, when we are able to create something in music, in art, in sculpture or architecture. So usually the meaning of creativity is associated with the mind, with the cleverness of the thought, also thinking differently. In the area of science, it could be in the area of art, music, and in different areas. But we have to really question that, is the creativity limited to only the expressions, the manifestations, which has its own value, its own beauty? And before we are anything, whether an artist or a writer or a professional, we are first of all human beings. And after that, all these categories or classifications apply. And usually we identify with what we express or manifest. And that becomes all important. And it may be required when the passion is flowing to create something in various fields and it's beautiful. But the question is, once we have manifested something and we are back into our daily life, what kind of life we are living? Is there an inner joy, happiness? Is there an inner love and compassion in my living? Because if I am super creative in my studio, in my workplace, and when I go back home, when I go back, inwardly, then what kind of life I am living? What is the quality? If there is no sense of joy, if there is no sense of peace and beauty, then can I call that a creative life? I may be creative in certain areas, and that is wonderful. But the real question, the real spiritual or meditative question is, am I living a creative life? And what is true creativity? Is creativity just limited to expressions, manifestations? Because there are some people who may not be manifesting as, the great artists or painters or writers. And we have this idea, this notion that to be creative, one has to be, be popular, famous, should be recognized. But we have to ask some deeper questions. Does creativity depend on recognition? When somebody else recognizes my creation, then only am I creative? Does creativity depend on becoming something in the future? Because then only one part of my mind is very active, and that is the thought-dominated mind. And there is a sense of achievement, the sense of becoming is there. And we all know that there is a tremendous, competition, all this conflict in the whole world of creativity. Even two writers, they are competing with each other. Two painters are competing with each other. Everybody is denying the other. So this whole domain of creativity, which has been limited into only the outward expression, has its own limits, its own problems. And we are asking a creative state of mind. What is that creative state of mind? Which may express outwardly something in the form of, any artwork or creation, and which may not express. So the true creativity, I feel, does not depend on the outward manifestation. And it has to do deeply with the state of one's mind, one's being, one's consciousness. So what is that true state of creativity? I feel in order to explore this question, we have to understand what is not creativity, or in other words, what is mediocrity. There is a word called mediocrity. We have all heard it. And Krishnamurti has often raised this question, are we living a mediocre life? And the meaning of this word is not to go till the end of something, just going halfway, not completing something, remaining at the level of, half-heartedness. There is no total presence. Just being satisfied with small pleasures, small achievements, and just repeating that. So if we want to really understand what is creativity, we have to understand what is mediocrity. What are the signs of mediocrity? And can we look this question not as something to be judged? We don't have to judge ourselves or anybody when we are using the word mediocrity, because this judgment comes immediately. Oh, I am not mediocre. I am not creative. I am mediocre. Then what can I do? But first of all, let us understand what is this mediocrity. So we can raise some questions. When I am imitating, when I am conforming to an idea, to a pattern, to a tradition, then I am not original, authentic. So mediocrity also means what is not authentic, original, which depends on the past, which depends on this mechanical repetition. So if I am following anything which has been created by thought, in the form of tradition, in the form of some belief, in the form of some ideology, don't I become mediocre in that process of following? In the process of imitating, conforming. And usually if we look deeply in our life inside ourselves, we may be imitating so many things, unknowingly, unconsciously. When I call myself something, say Indian or American or something, with any label, am I not being mediocre? Because then I am conforming to an idea. Of course, it can have a reality, a physical reality, that one is living in India, another person is living in Africa. That does not necessarily create any conflict. But when I identify myself psychologically, then I am living in the past. I am living identified with the creation of thought. So any identification is a sign of mediocrity. So I can examine myself if I am identified with something. It can be very subtle. I may be identified with my success, with my failure, with my property, with some ideas, whether an idea of a country, a religion, or a race, or whatever. So identification in any form is a sign of mediocrity. And this leads to conflict and suffering in our life. Because then I'm limiting myself and others into certain labels. I look at other person only through that identification, as I look myself through that identification. And this identification, I feel, is one of the root causes of our deep suffering. Another sign of mediocrity, let us look at it. When I accept anything for granted, when I'm not questioning, and we can see in our society, a lot of influences are taking place. We are being influenced by innumerable things, by media, by this whole internet. There is so much information all around that mind becomes really burdened by that information. And we get influenced either this side or the other side. As I am traveling in Europe, I see so much this inner conflict among people, especially with regard to this COVID. One group of people is saying that, it's all propaganda by some people, and they're questioning everything, that this whole medication, vaccine. And there is another group which is saying, no, this is correct. And both believe strongly in what they believe, what they think is right. And when we take any side, the problem is that we are not doubting ourselves, our position. And the danger is when we don't doubt our position, we get so identified with it and we start believing in it. And then I am in conflict with the other party, the other human being. So the question is, why do we get so identified, so influenced by any side? Is it possible to remain with the quality of wonder, with the quality of, okay, yes, let me listen to this story and let me also listen to the other part of the story. And I really don't know the full picture. It is too vast. But can I be authentic in my relationship? Can I be authentic in relating to whatever information is coming and not simply accepting it as completely true or completely false? So I feel then there is a different approach, which is creative, I would say. Because if I take any side, I feel I'm mediocre. I may be calling myself very progressive when I am saying, okay, I don't accept this, what other people are saying. But if I'm very rigid in my position, then I feel I might be becoming mediocre. My approach is mediocre then. And let us take some other signs of mediocrity. When there is a conflict inside, because we all experience this conflict, the inner conflict, what is the right action? And in this process, when we try to resolve any psychological conflict, whether with a partner, with a colleague, with another person, with a friend, I'm actually in trying to resolve that conflict, I'm creating another conflict. So the basic cause of conflict is that I have an idea what I should be or the other person should be, and I'm not actually understanding the reality, the what is. I am reacting to the reality and creating an utopia or idea of what should be. Now this is the basic conflict in our life. What is and what should be or what should not be. And then I try to meet the problem of this conflict through thinking process, through thought, and I forget that this whole conflict has been created by thought. So it is very interesting that thought creates this duality, this separation between me and you, between me and my experiences, my feelings. And then thought is trying to deal with this conflict. So this is very interesting. How can the energy which created the conflict can solve the conflict? Thought has created this conflict, and then thought is trying to solve it. That is contradictory. So is there a different approach? Can I approach the what is the reality from an observing mind, from a listening mind? And of course, when the mind is really observing, looking, watching, then a quality of silence also comes. Then I am not taking any side. I am listening with a quiet mind, not with a reactive mind. And this is the basic difference. When I am meeting a problem with a reactive mind, which is actually a mind which is just operating from the thought, then I don't have much space. So is it possible to meet a problem, to meet any reality from an observing mind, from a listening mind? Then I am not reacting to the problem, but I'm just trying to understand the problem. And in that understanding, the answer comes, the resolution comes naturally. Then I don't have to create what should be or what should not be. And I feel then there is an authenticity in my approach. If I am all the time meeting the problems of the known, of the thought, only from the thought, from the background of thought, then I'm just continuing with the problem, repeating it. And this is the mediocrity actually. But if I'm watching the problem, if I'm really listening to it without this past baggage, without reacting to it, then there is a totally different approach. And this approach I feel is creative, is authentic. And what is really creative has to be original, authentic. So can we watch ourselves as we are relating, acting in our life? From what ground we are relating? We can drop this question at any moment. Like in this moment, am I really listening, or is my mind reacting to what it is hearing? They are two different states. If it is really listening, then there will be a natural silence. The mind will be quiet. And this does not mean that one is agreeing with it or disagreeing. In this pure listening, there is a space, inner space. There is an inner silence. There is no resistance. So I can ask this question at any moment. Am I really watching or am I reacting? Krishnamurti once asked, are you looking at the flower or are you thinking about the flower? And these are two different things. Of course, we need thinking. We have to think. But the problem is when thinking dominates all our consciousness, all our life, then we are actually living a mediocre life. And mediocre life will inevitably create a ground of suffering for oneself and for others. So there are deeper implications of being, mediocre, or living a life of mediocrity, which is not true creativity. So I can ask this question when I'm relating to somebody, am I really looking at somebody with sensitivity, with love, with compassion, or am I just thinking about somebody? Which means, am I just reacting from the past memories, past background? And this is also important when I'm doing this self-inquiry. If I discover that, oh, mind is reacting from the past background, then can there be a simple watching of it, not immediately creating another reaction, oh, I should not be reacting. Then it creates another conflict. Can I watch whatever is happening in this moment? I feel this watching and listening, whatever is taking place in this living moment is being creative. Then I can also watch the society, how it is operating, because society is a outer manifestation of what I live inwardly. Society is not separate from me. So there is an art of observation. There is an art of connecting. Can I look at something? Can I look at myself and the outside world without taking any fixed position, but with an inquiring mind, with a learning mind, with a mind which is really probing, asking questions, not concluding. Because when we live with conclusions, that is mediocrity. If I'm living with any conclusion about anything, that is actually mediocrity. Because conclusion stops me from learning further. But if I'm open, okay, I have learned something now, and it may change tomorrow, then I'm not attached to my even learning. Whatever I'm learning, it is true. It is a fact for now, but it can change tomorrow. But if I get attached to what I learned yesterday, and now I'm living life of the now, the present, from the yesterday, then I become mediocre. I create a conflict. That's why this creative living is from moment to moment, being fresh, alive, looking from those innocent eyes, not with the eyes full of knowledge, full of prejudices. So I feel this creative living is actually a compassionate living. It includes this quality of love. It includes the quality of innocence, a wonder, sensitivity, deep sensitivity. Then I'm not tied to anything. I'm open. I'm open to learn and also unlearn. Then I feel there is a different flavor in life. And it is important, as I said, that when we discover that this mediocrity is happening in my life, I should not immediately react to it and judge it. Okay, I should not be mediocre. But can I stay with it, this fact of mediocrity, and watch what is the cause of it? The deeper cause is fear. And then I have to go to the root of fear. What is the cause of fear? Why there is a fear? Why do I feel this sense of insecurity? When we are all human beings, why we are afraid of each other? It's strange. And everyone, almost everybody is afraid of one another. And we are all human beings. Why? Does it mean that I have not really understood myself? Who am I? Because I am living totally identified with a certain category. And then I am living at the level of thought, thinking. And I'm not discovering that there can be a life which is not just at the level of thought, but which can be at a more deeper level, at a more integrated level, which means at the level of presence, at the level of observation, listening, sensitivity. Then it becomes whole. But the difficulty is, or the real problem is, that I'm living a fragmentary life. And this fragmentary life is created by thought. So I'm living at the level of mind and thought. Then of course it will create division, conflict and fear. So the root cause of fear is not understanding oneself as one is. So the only resolution or the understanding of fear could be through self-knowing, understanding what one is, what self is. And for this, I have to understand the tools of exploration. As I said, if I explore only through the tool of thought, then I remain at a certain level. Then my exploration will be limited to my past knowledge. It will not go beyond the past knowledge. Then I ask, are there some other tools of exploration? And those tools are given by nature to all of us. That potential is there within all of us. We have this, actually the word tool is limited, but I am using it for the time being. It's not a tool, it's like an energy. We all have that energy. Thought is also energy, but that energy is limited, and that is useful, very useful in our daily survival. But there are other energies also, which we perhaps not explored enough. This energy of deep listening, the energy of pure observation, pure watching, the energy of love, which is part of this looking and listening, the energy of compassion. So can we awaken all these energies in our life, in our daily living, and then explore? Then I feel there will be a creative force in our life. And it will not depend on whether we create something other people recognize. Then I don't depend on any recognition. I don't care about that. Because first of all, am I doing something which is really coming from my heart? Then it has a different quality. Then it doesn't matter what I do, but with what quality of heart I do, with what quality of mind I do. And there lies the true creativity, I feel. Then I may be living in my house and I may be doing gardening with great creativity, with love. I may be cooking with great creativity, with that sense of joy and beauty. I may be teaching or being a carpenter, or maybe just a silent reader, not going much outside, but I am living a life of fullness. So it doesn't depend on outer expression. Like Raman Maharishi, he was not going anywhere, but he was living there with a different quality of presence. He was not doing many activities, but by being present, there was a deep creativity. If the mind, if the heart is full of compassion, full of that meditative quality, that is being creative. But other person may feel, going out, like J. Krishnamurti, he was traveling all around the world. And he felt that, the purpose of this body is to share the teachings. So that was his way of expressing that creativity. But he said that if it doesn't happen, that also he doesn't mind that. He was asked, why do you speak? And his reply was beautiful. He said, do you ask a flower, why does it flower? Why does it share the fragrance? It's not a matter of decision. It is happening. There is a quality of choicelessness in it. So I feel this creative state of being begins with simplicity. By being present now, looking at now, listening now, questioning all my past baggage, then asking, who am I if I remove all my stories? What am I if I remove all my past baggage? Do I cease to exist? No, I am alive. Actually, I become fully alive when I am not identified with all that. When I am fully present here and now.